I asked the community through a community post, what is your hottest video game related take? We are approaching it being 48 hours now since I asked, so I think I can start to go through them. Just so I mention it, maybe the microphone will be acting up again and it is cutting here and there. I don't know what the issue is, it's bothering me to no end and I don't really have a solution. Changing the settings doesn't really do much. I get the feeling that it's maybe related to the microphone itself at this point. But anyways, that's not what this video is about. Let's start from the bottom of the comments. I think those might end up being either rage bait or not so hot takes. I will also include a hot take meter that, you know, we can decide how hot a take really is. But I will read through all of them. So let's start from the very bottom one. Jin is such a bad character that I still don't know why people can praise him. Look, here's the thing, okay? Is that a hot take? I think, yeah, this is pretty hot, because I think Jin is a great character. Now, we're talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 here. There might be games on here which I can give my 2 cents. Maybe there are games that I haven't played yet, like if someone approaches saying, you know, I think the latest Halo game was actually pretty solid. I don't know. I haven't played the Halo games. I know, shame on me. How dare I call myself a gamer. But yeah, Jin, I think there is so much to his character and also the reason why he acts, and I related to him also in some ways. So, you know, I disagree. Without going into spoilers, I won't talk spoilers here. I think this is a pretty hot take. You should maybe explain why you think he's a bad character, you know, to add a little bit of weight to them. But maybe there is also a reason why this is on the very bottom. But hey, thank you for participating. By the way, that was by Moon Millenniuman. Millenniuman. Right. Then by Dracuma OZ. Tears of the Kingdom is an insult to gaming and shouldn't even exist. Is that a... No, it is a very hot take. I think it is a very hot take. Although this is... How should I rate takes that are technically rage bait? Because every game can exist, right? I think you can say that. Tears of the Kingdom may be an insult to the old Zelda fan base, yes. This is a take that also I say. But insult... Maybe not intentional, but in a lot of ways it does feel like an insult to all the previous games and the whole, what the series was built upon, you know? But saying that the game shouldn't exist, I mean, did you see the developers conference? I'm not 100% sure, but there was a presentation where they showed off how they did the beta testing and how they figured out the physics and how they improved upon them and how it also worked, all those systems. And it was so just fascinating to watch them. How also the sound system works and what went into, or what went through their minds when they created all these physics-based puzzles and items, and it was really interesting to have it watch, and you do feel like they put a lot of effort into the physics. And this is probably also the reason why we had to wait so long. So I do think Tears of the Kingdom is a masterpiece in a lot of ways, but also, like many people said, it is a pretty bad masterpiece. Like, it has some very good parts to it, but also some very bad parts about it. But yeah, thank you. Shadow Link. Mario Sunshine is easily the worst 3D Mario game out of them all. Don't get the glaze of it at all. It's a horribly unpolished mess that is somehow glitchier than Mario 64. This makes it unfun and trash to play. So many bad design decisions, level layouts that don't work with the game's physics, and an agonizing way to 100% it makes it a mental drain to play. The movement may be fun in some ways, but everything else, like the rest of the game, make me wish I never played it. Ooh, that is some, man, that is some. You know, here I genuinely felt the Mario Sunshine hatred, and it hurts a bit. Because I'm one of the rare people that actually really likes Mario Sunshine. Yes, So here's the thing. I don't even think it's a hot take. I'll give it 50-50 because it's not a rare opinion that people hate Mario Sunshine. But I think it did so many cool things. With also Flood, right? Just having a jetpack and having the Splatoon mechanics, really trying to go places and clean the world up. Yeah, this game is a mess. I have to agree. Some of those challenges, man, they really get the worst parts out of you, don't they? I see a lot of answers under this one, but I won't read them. I don't want to be biased. I hope people were kind to you. All of you should be kind to each other. I dare you to be not kind to each other. My banhammer is ready here laying down. But yeah, maybe I'll also just... No, actually no, I don't look at it through rose-tinted glasses because I did replay the game with the 3D All-Stars collection. And yeah, you know, it is definitely rushed. It was rushed, if I remember correctly. And you definitely notice it throughout the game. From the level design and once again the physics and how also the controls sometimes are very janky, wonky. But still, the game, like the music and the world and... Super Mario Sunshine is just such a vibe, you know? I really like this game. It's absolutely not my favorite 3D Mario, but I still really like the game for many other reasons. But I understand why people might really hate the game. I guess I see where you're coming from. Yeah, thank you. Moving on. Octo88. Once you calculate for... Okay, wait, this is a big comment. Once you calculate for the $500 pack and option, Mario Kart World's price is fine in the US. People will only buy things if they think it is worth it, and the Switch 2/Mario Kart World are selling great. The bundle, yeah. Also, basically the only people who are spending $80 are the ones who think it's worth it because they want it physical or whatever. Most people are getting it for $50, which is a bargain for a new game in this gaming economy. I would go as far as to say this is better than them releasing it for $70 across the board. Also, Tears of the Kingdom is trash compared to Breath of the Wild. That's not a hot take. Okay, so the last one is not a hot take. It definitely isn't a hot take. Although, wait. Maybe saying that it's trash compared to Breath of the Wild is a hot take. Let's give this one also a 50-50. But I think the first part is actually a relatively cold take. Because, look, talking for myself here, I either had the option to buy the Switch 2 for €470 and buy Mario Kart World physically for €90, or buy the bundle for €510, which means I would get Mario Kart World for €40. Honestly, that's like... I mean, digitally it would have costed me €80, but that's like 50% off. And you will never see this game ever for that cheap. So, honestly, it was a no-brainer. Like, it completely was a no-brainer to get the bundle. Even if the game is, at the end of the day, digitally, although I always prefer my games, you know, on a cartridge, of course. And hey, you know, all things considered, people can do with their money whatever they want, right? Who are we to judge? We do complain a lot, and I think also for good reasons. But at the end of the day, if people buy the games and they think they're worth it, you know, sure, more power to you, whatever. I mean, you also gotta think about it this way. Remember when the PlayStation 5 released? And you had the console instead of €500 for €1,000 on eBay through resellers and scalpers. And guess what? They were sold out, man. Everyone bought them on eBay. People were spending twice and even more money to get the console. And it worked for many years. So, I mean, you know, I guess people do buy what they think is worth it to them. Would it be worth it to me? Absolutely not. Not even in 100 years, but hey, if you have the money, I guess you can do it. Okay, thank you. Refrigerator. Mario is the worst Nintendo franchise. I gotta stop you right there. That is not true. But wait, this is not about me. It's not interesting. I appreciate it started video games, but it's a milked franchise that is not interesting since the 80s. There are layers here. Okay, so first up, that's a hot take. This is one of the hottest takes, I'd say. You know, Mario games, they are so versatile. I think calling the 3D Mario games, the big 3D Mario games, not interesting is, heck, I'll just say straight out wrong. I do understand it if you would have told me that 2 years ago considering 2D Mario, because everything just kind of repeated itself, you know, design-wise and how the games looked and everything about it. But with Super Mario Wonder, it's like a completely new experience. I had such a blast with this game. What I will say though is that the Mario sports games are honestly some of the worst games we have gotten on the Switch. And dude, Mario Strikers Battle League hurt me physically. One of the most awaited games for me and one of the biggest disappointments gaming-wise that I think ever had. I was waiting for a next Mario Strikers for so many years, and then we receive straight up garbage. It is unironically just one single mode. You play the same mode on the same field, and that's about it. Yeah, sure, the animations are cool, but what a cash grab. And you can say that about so many other sports games too. So yeah, like I said, there are layers, there are a lot of games that I do think are relatively, they could have been, I don't know. There are definitely games that are quite uninteresting and definitely weren't necessary, but saying all of them are? Nah, I disagree. You know which one is worse? The Yoshi series, which I don't know, it almost seemed like they made it quite a big deal and the closer of the Mario anniversary. Although I have to say it left me a little bit cold. Yoshi games are quite hit or miss and definitely more on the miss side of things, but once again, that's just me. Thank you. Hurai Hiroma. Online multiplayer games, more specifically genres like shooters or fighters, suck. It's just using the same characters over and over again on the same stages in the same singular game mode, all just to try to beat a match. I don't get the appeal when I just get so bored seeing and doing the same thing over and over again. Any other game mode has a story to fall back upon. But these kinds of games, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, Smash Bros, Street Fighter, etc., I just can't get behind, and believe me, I've certainly tried. I have hundreds of hours of Smash Bros matches throughout the years, and eventually I just had to tell myself I was only doing it because my friends were doing it. At least there are interesting character skins in free-to-play PvP shooters, and Smash Bros has cool music remixes, but you know, then it's microtransactions left and right, so... I think we also had it with some of the previous ones. Some of those hot takes are just, I think, different preferences. So I don't think this is a hot take. You just probably aren't a fan of these genres, which is, of course, fine. But I don't think this is a hot take. I think it's not only it is related to different tastes in video games, but also I think it's different throughout the games. Yeah, you have something like, do I have an example? Is it an Overwatch where it's like full of microtransactions and you can buy skins left and right, and one skin costs like 20 euro or something, which is just absolute nonsense. But you have something like Marvel Rivals, and you can completely play the game free and get enough, I think, resources over a while to buy yourself a battle pass eventually, which is also something that Fortnite always did. And they're just fun, you know, just from time to time, just playing 1 or 2 rounds. It is the same thing with, for example, football or watching racers, Formula 1. It's technically the same thing, or any sports really, where you just kind of like the sport or the game, the competition, the adrenaline. So I think in this case it's just a difference in taste, but you know, everyone has a different taste, so this is perfectly fine. If you don't like them, you don't have to play them. But hey, at the least I respect that you tried the games, because oftentimes online people say, well, I hate this game. Well, have you tried it? No, but I think I hate this. Okay, sure. Because some creator said it. This is even better. But whatever. Thank you very much for the comment. Gyro. Mario Galaxy is the worst 3D Mario movement. Oh no, 3D Mario movement just sucks, makes it just not fun to explore. Mario Galaxy being the worst 3D Mario? Yeah. So if you just say that it's because of the movement, I guess, maybe. This is definitely one of the hotter takes. But maybe I am biased because I love space. I love space. When I was a kid, those black holes, they scared me to no end. And I was terrified to no end to just not drop down and get sucked up by the black hole, get spaghettified and being thrown into the singularity. I tried my very best to avoid that. But it's also just such a vibe, once again, the music and all the different environments you travel through, and I think the gravity aspect is also so well done. I like that. Like, if you're not a fan of it, yes, of course, you know, once again, everyone can have their opinion, obviously, but man, I heavily disagree. It is a hot take, definitely something I don't agree with. But anyways, thank you very much. I don't mind Electronic Arts and I actively want them to stay in the gaming industry. Sure, loot boxes and microtransactions suck a lot of times, but they produce the best sports titles in gaming, and even though they are very derivative, the market wants that Man, I can't speak English. What on earth does it even mean? Derivativität? I don't, even in German I don't get it. Das Derivat, die Ableitung. And the core gameplay is strong on those games. But the actual reason I think they are worth keeping is the amount of indie games they publish, and I think everyone agrees indie games are fire. You know what? Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, is it a hot take? I think I put this one on 50-50. 50-50 because a lot of people have such a hatred towards Electronic Arts, and it is justified. But you have to think about it this way, it's a company. You do a game which you release every year, you put barely any effort into it, and people buy it, millions of people buy it every year and spend hundreds of euros for every game into packs to get the same players in every game. And it works for I don't know how many years now. Would you change anything? Obviously not. So I totally understand, like also Call of Duty and Battlefield, they sell well. Why should they change it, you know? People complain, but the people complaining online most of the time are just a small bubble. All this gaming space we have here online on YouTube and wherever, Twitter, Reddit, Blue Sky, I don't know, it's all really just a smaller bubble in comparison to the casual, you know, to the general gaming audience. So for me personally, I don't think this is like a hot take at all. I actually agree with this one. Electronic Arts, especially in the recent years, they have supported so many more indie titles to come out, and There are so many great games releasing from them besides the sports games, which are a ripoff. So people just blindly hating Electronic Arts, I don't know. I don't know. People get easily blinded by hatred, which they shouldn't be. Thank you, Pavi. Final Fantasy X was a mistake. A Liberty Dino, I have never played a Final Fantasy game in my life. I want to change that in the near future. But yeah, I don't know. I heard people liked 10. I think this is something that people agree on, so I guess this is a hot take. But thank you for the comment. Isaac Burton says Pokemon needs to die. If not die, it needs a serious wake-up call. The newest games have been subpar with Wii-level visuals, forgettable design, and terrible performance, and yet we are still spending millions of dollars for trash. Pal World was a good thing because it was a legitimate competitor that could have motivated the Pokemon company to stop slacking and actually put some work into their games. But instead, Nintendo's legal team sued Pal World and created a patent to continue to protect the Pokemon company. We need to stop buying Pokemon trash, and Pokemon needs to actually put effort into their games. It is the same thing that I also said with EA. And FIFA, I guess, and also all the sports games. Dude, all Pokemon games combined have sold over 100 million copies on the Switch. Because most people outside our bubble here do not care. They will buy it for their children, which care even less about these things, and they will continue to sell. And they won't change a thing. If you look a little bit into the leaks, like there was this big Pokemon leak, they won't change anything. They won't change anything at all. And if you also look into some of the development for Pokemon ZA, I also made a post on Blue Sky. Dude, the game, do you know why the buildings are 2D PNGs, 2D JPEGs just slapped on each direction? Because the Switch 1 had performance issues. There actually exists a higher detailed version for the Switch 2, but they reduced it all down for the sake of the Switch 1. They didn't even bother to implement the higher detailed world into the Switch 2 edition. Why? I don't even know what to say. Is it a hot take? I think this is a cold take, because everyone knows that they kind of need to start putting some effort in, but they don't because they don't need to, and they will continue doing these things. So, yeah. Vader saying Xbox is dying as constructor. What does that mean? Xbox is dying is a fact. I don't know as a constructor, but yes, Xbox is dying. That is a cold take. That's the coldest take. That's a minus 50 degrees kind of take. But thank you for the comment. Max says, I find Souls games so very, very boring and hate how they basically always treat lore as a replacement for actual structured narrative. Ooh, that is a hot take. Yeah, that is a scorching take. I played Elden Ring, and it's one of the best games I have ever played. But it's on this, you know, saying that it's boring is once again a personal issue, you know? So that just means you just don't like that genre. So in this case, is it a hot take? Considering that you just have a different taste? I think, you know, all the lore they put into those games, I am a sucker for lore. I love lore. Give me all the lore from my favorite video games. I wish Zelda would go as far to include that kind of lore into their own games. Heck, I would wish that Xenoblade would do these things. They kinda did that with Xenoblade Cross, and having the items you can collect, and also the enemies that have a little text, you know, name some very interesting fun facts about the enemies. Or just saying that some bosses can straight up just create supernovas. But saying that they treat it as a replacement for an actual structured narrative, I don't know, I gotta disagree. Just because looking at the overall package, there is a story which may be a little bit convoluted and a little bit not on the point. I think this is I think this is the whole point of it, you know? You have so much environmental storytelling and lore that you can read, and it makes a lot of sense. I guess it just depends on how you actually care about it. How I see it is, if you don't care about story and lore in video games, this game is pretty great. You just go ahead, slap bosses left and right, you know, spam through the dialogue and everything. But if you care about the story, you can actually, you know, pay attention and read through some of the descriptions and stuff, also for the bosses, and kind of puzzle it all together for yourself, which, I don't know, I enjoy. So, once again, that's just a matter of your personal taste. Rivalite, man, this will be a long video. Maybe I'll split it into 2 videos actually, and this will be just a part 1. That would probably be a good idea. Rivalite XDI. Zelda Ocarina of Time is the worst 3D Zelda? But here, same thing. But why? Like, why would you think that? What's the reason for it? I say this is a hot take because it feels like rage bait almost. Ocarina of Time is still placed as the best game ever created for a lot of reasons and good reasons. Back then, when they still kind of bothered to create good stories, like really interesting story, create a whole universe, you know, a fictional universe with lore that is actually also interesting to be invested in. And you can still absolutely play it today. I think it has aged relatively well, like all things considered. So yeah, I massively disagree, especially because there is no real explanation as to why you would think that. But hey, once again, thank you very much. Budget sound waves. Even with $80 games, gaming can be one of the most affordable and best value forms of entertainment. $70 to $80 is a great deal if you're getting 30 to 100 plus hours of entertainment. A sports game ticket is 40 to 100 plus for a few hours of entertainment. Concerts too. Even just a movie rental these days is $20 plus for 2 hours of entertainment. The value of music can vary wildly depending on how much you end up listening to it, but even that I'd say is not as good of an average dollar to hour value ratio. Okay, so since there is a second take, actually, let me say that is absolutely the truth. But I think what people complain about is, there is a very recent example, Little Nightmares 3, which I love Little Nightmares. It's one of my favorite video game series ever. Definitely up there, and I would even maybe say top 5. But the developer switched, and Supermassive Games was working on the IP now. The Tarsia studio went ahead and created their own IP because they didn't own Little Nightmares. The new IP is called Reanimal, and I really look forward to it. It will release next year. But yeah, Little Nightmares 3 costs $40, and there's also, of course, the special edition for $60, but the game is like 4 hours long. And there really isn't that much of a replay value. And if you think about it this way, $10 per hour, I guess relatively speaking, in comparison also to the examples you provided, it would be still fine. But like you said yourself, you can get, like, as an example, right, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, where you can put 100 hours upwards inside them, or also the Xenoblade games. Something like Donkey Kong Bonanza, which for 100%, how many hours did I put into it? 30, 40 hours? And I got it on Amazon for €60, you know, on a little sale. So I think this is more on the colder take side, because I don't think people would necessarily disagree with you, but it's just that the companies are kind of just raising the prices just because they can, or they're trying to test the waters, you know. They shouldn't do that. They would probably do more than fine for even selling these games at 60 still. But now Mario Kart is pushing things to €90? they wouldn't have to do that. Especially for a game like Mario Kart World, which is... Man, it's all like, what, 60 million on the Switch one, approaching 70 million? So I think what people mostly just complain about is just the greed, which is just something that gets worse and worse across the board in the video game industry. And yeah, that is absolutely the truth. So it's less about the actual value of the games, because people spend, once again, €100, 200 on skins and packs and what do I know, all the free-to-play stuff. So I think most of the people also, yeah, if the product is actually good, you know, no bugs, no glitches, it's not being a mess, and there actually being content inside it, which is also fun to play and doesn't feel like filler, you know, just padding. There are, once again, a lot of layers to this, but in general, yeah, I completely agree. My second hot take that continues this point: gaming is a luxury hobby, not a necessity. If you can't afford the new games or consoles, you are not entitled to them. There is an infinite amount of great games on previous gen consoles that no single person has played every one of. Stick to your old console and play great, cheap games there until you can afford the new stuff. Just please stop crying about it as if it's the price of groceries, you can't survive without it. Yes. I don't know how exactly I should put it. Video games or consoles were the budget PC, in a way, right? The more affordable way to play video games. But there is a shift where this has definitely changed, and it feels way more of a luxury product than it did many, many years ago. So, I say it once again, there are some layers to it, like an onion. I do agree that gaming is a luxury hobby, but the prices have shot up so high, also video game prices and console prices, and you all now have also all these online services and all those ways to, or for companies to get as much money out of you as possible, that I think the complaint is definitely justified. But I also absolutely agree with your point that if you can't buy it, don't buy it. Buy older games. You probably have a backlog. Work on that backlog. It is something that I have been doing ever since the Switch 2 generation started, and there isn't really that many games for it right now. So I'm going through my Switch backlog and also some games on Steam, which I have just finished Fire Emblem Warriors, which was it's a mediocre game. I also finished Fire Emblem Engage not too long ago, or actually at this point, yeah, it's like 2-3 months now. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, Superliminal, all these smaller indie titles, right? So I'm doing some good progress here by myself, besides, of course, also streaming games like Hollow Knight Silksong and Donkey Kong Bonanza. But yeah, you can always go back, grab some older games that dropped in price. There is always something you can check out, so I think all in all, definitely takes I agree with. Thank you very much. Obvious the maxim. I guess my most topical hot take is Expedition 33 is a good game. It's not the greatest turn-based JRPG style game to ever come out, it's a solid B-tier RPG. Mildly related, but I hate the notion that turn-based RPGs don't come out anymore, or that even Square Enix doesn't release turn-based games when they're always coming out. With one, it's just not... Man, this reminds me so much of a situation I had with a colleague who, you know, always when it comes to turn-based games or something, like Final Fantasy, yes, like Final Fantasy. And it's always the same, it comes back to Final Fantasy, and also when talking about Expedition 33, it's like Final Fantasy. Yes, I guess it has a lot of influence there, you know, from Final Fantasy. I did a review of Expedition 33. I think this game is absolutely fantastic. I love this game. But you do notice that it's the first game of a newly created studio, with 30 people working on it. I think what they did with the turn-based combat is just a brilliant, I think it was a really nice take on it. The music was incredible. The story was incredible. I guess as a massive Xenoblade fan, maybe it resonated with me way more than it did with others. But there were so many things that the game did right. Also, it felt really rewarding to just go explore the environments and all the secrets. Although I do think that the Pictos were maybe a little bit... It became a bit overwhelming because you had like over 100 of them at some point, with all the different abilities, and you can also upgrade them, and I think there are a lot of ways how they could improve it in future games. But overall, once again, I think this is more on the line of according to your taste, you know? It was a solid game, but nothing more than that. Which of course I completely respect. But I see also why you said this is a hot take, because people online are kind of like, I either love it or absolutely despise it. There is no in between. So I think because I am the one who says what's a hot or cold take, I think this is it's a lukewarm kind of take. Yeah, thank you very much. Alban Blade Meme. Difficulty is overglazed by a lot of players as part of the game experience. Okay, the example I got have bias, but anyway. Silk Song and Elden Ring. 2 games great for the ambience, music and stories, but when criticizing the difficulty or using mods to change it and lowering it, it seems as blasphemous, like I betrayed the experience the devs wanted me to have. However, using mods for parody, like using a Shrek model to mention not shameful stuff, has its pass. Or I guess it's just fine. And the worst part, making it harder is viewed as okay, implying a double standard. Sorry, I probably I should forget it. Some frustration since I have really poor skill in gaming overall and I'm so frustrated by my skills, especially when it comes to Silk Song. And Xenoblade 2 custom difficulty should come back, it's a great feature. I can modify the stat to less relying on chain attacks or make a boss more punishing but having less frequency. Okay. I think this is a lukewarm take. Because online you do have a lot of elitists, right? For many games. And heck, I've been a thorn in many people's eyes too because of my Elden Ring playthrough, because I used summons. I gotta say, at some point I got influenced by it and I stopped using summons and tried to beat them without them. Although I do think this is a great thing. If you want it, you can use it. Things like a casual mode, I think this is a great thing. More people get to experience it. If people own their games, they can mod it however they want. That's their decision. So I don't see why so many people are so mad about it. Like, why do you even care? It's not like it's your game, play it however you want. So yeah, I definitely agree with the comment. Most definitely. I do think that there might be games where they specifically mention that this is the way the game is supposed to be played. But this is something where I would say you just have to give it a try at least, you know? Like, just start the game, see how, if you're having a good time, if it's enjoyable. I do think that having a challenge is always nice. I don't know why people would want their games to be way too easy, to the point where you can just walk through them, not even being bothered by anything. I would say this is kind of boring. But if there are these accessibility options, I think this would be really cool. Also about Xenoblade 2's custom difficulty, I think there should be something you receive post-finale. Like, yeah, have your easy, medium, and hard, right? But when it comes to complete customization of enemies, health, and damage output, that should be done post-game, like post-main story. Because this is, I think, a little bit too much. But that's just me. Thank you. Okay, I will definitely have to split it, man. Okay, strangest has wrote a second one because I forgot to add to first one. There was a first one. Anyways, Not fully related to gaming, but due to the recent COD streamers versus Battlefield 6 debate. I think big streamers using their platform to try force a different franchise to adjust to their needs is insanely scumming and bad for the industry. Because salt money greedy CEOs will see that. Think they will, and their audience will play the game if they cater to them. And then they play it for like a month, drop it, and hardcore fans didn't even touch it. And the game just dies. I think this is related to just content creators, or I guess influencers as you call them, using their influence in a very bad way, which is unfortunately happening so often. And it's also something that, unfortunately, Xenoblade kinda just was thrown under the bus by, who guessed it, Video Game Donkey. Even if it's just like on the more humorous side, or more jokingly meant, people can be pretty stupid, you know? So, a lot of people take things way too literally and they just start to trash other people playing these games, or I don't know, because this or that creator said. And some people also, I feel like some people have always kind of a hive mindset. They can't think for themselves, but they just hear what's currently popular, what other bigger people think, and they just adjust their mindset to their mindset, and that's about it, which I think is very sad. But a lot of people are like that. It is what it is. It is definitely not a hot take, I'd say. This is something that I think a lot of people would agree with. At least people that also can think for themselves. But yeah, thank you very much. Kurlezik says, I hate those opinions that hate on games before they even come out, or there's any information on it. For example, Insomniac's coming Wolverine game, and the quote-unquote woke controversy around that. Even though there is nothing woke about anything we've seen in it for this game. People have seen something woke inside there? I haven't heard of it. What was woke about it? It looked badass. I think it looked fantastic. I think what this just boils down to is Redditor and, I guess, Twitter. As, you know, Twitter, but with a cross, I guess something in between. Some people just want to hate for the sake of hating. I get the feeling that for some people, I say that a lot, don't I? I get the feeling. People do like to hate, and some people, they consume on the toxicity. It fuels them, they enjoy it. People do that unironically just for the sake of hating. So especially people complaining about some woke and it being some sort of a controversy, this is something that I think deserves to be ignored. So I think this is a relatively cold take. Like there can be a sort of just feeling about the game, like watching the trailer, I don't know, it doesn't look like my cup of tea. Yeah, sure, okay. Who knows, you know, but maybe that's the case. But stuff like you mentioned is just kind of stupid. Thank you very much. Regent Clover. My hot take. The Last of Us story is extremely overrated. Many people say it has one of the best stories in all of gaming, but let's be honest, the story is super basic and lame. Basically, without the good characters and storytelling, it wouldn't be nearly as good. I like the first Last of Us. Extremely overrated? Yeah, I do think it is. Like, I really like the game, I like the combat and everything, I like the story and the characters and their relationship, how they interact with each other, and I guess just how the game is written. Which I can't say about the second game. But just talking about the first game, I think it's pretty good. The thing is, basically without the good characters and storytelling, it wouldn't be nearly as good. You could say that about a lot of video games, but they are part of a video game, which makes it a good video game. So I don't fully understand the last sentence. It's like saying Xenoblade wouldn't be good without the music and the story. But that's like, well, okay, but they are part of the game, which is what we're talking about here, and so since they're good, it's good. Yeah, I don't know. I think I put it on the slightly hotter take, because I think a lot of people would disagree. And I also have to slightly disagree with it too. But thank you very much for the comment. I think this will be the last one I'll do. Then I'll make a two-part episode out of it. Resonance says gamers are their own worst enemies. Game discussions are unproductive due to how quickly it devolves into mudslinging. Feedback to publishers and devs is near unusable. Gamers love to hate on the new and glorify the old, even though they hated the old when it was new. And the cardinal sin is a small comfort zone of gaming preferences. Gaming is not dead, you just aren't playing games outside of your small comfort zone. Yes! I have a whole video on that. Anyways, that goes for any genre lover. Boy, hitting the microphone. I'm very excited about this one. Nobody hates video games as much as gamers themselves. Like, people complain all the time about everything online. What is even there to complain about? People just complain for the sake of complaining once again. Which is also, related to the thing, they found something woke in the Wolverine game. What was I haven't seen anything like that. Have I missed something? I don't know. Didn't he drink enough alcohol in the trailer so it isn't comics accurate? Like, people are out there complaining that it almost feels like, the IGN review of Pokemon saying there's too much water, or also about Alien Isolation that the aliens AI is way too overpowered, although it is the greatest thing. Alien Isolation is such a gem. One of the greatest, when it comes to horror games, it is the best horror game I have ever played. Alien Isolation, I have played through this game 3 times, also in nightmare mode. Incredible game, incredible game. But as you also said in the last sentence, I made a whole video about it. People play FIFA and Call of Duty every year, play nothing else, and complain that gaming is dead. What are you doing with your life? What are you complaining about? You're not even trying. Do you just hate fun? Is this what you hate? I don't know what else to add to that. I 100% agree. I guess for a lot of people it would be a hot take. But actually I will remove the meta for you and just put a big heart on there, because I completely agree with that comment. Absolutely. Let's throw one more comment in here. From Lucas Johnson. I think Edelgard wasn't a villain in Fire Emblem Three Houses. You know what? I should censor that. Technically it is a spoiler. But to answer your question regardless, it's a matter of perspective. Since I have gone with the Golden Deer, because Claude, my boy, he's the only reason why I joined him. He seemed mad chill. And I freaking love bow and arrow. It's like my favorite weapon in video games. So it was a no-brainer. And the finale was great, dude. Banger soundtrack. God-shattering star. It's a chef's kiss kind of song. So yeah, I guess it's just a matter of perspective. Is that a hot take, what you have written? I don't know. I guess it is a hot take. I'll just slap the here relatively hot take on there. Okay, I see one more short comment here. Let's take this one on here as well. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Sports games such as Madden or 2K are waste of money and have only hurt the gaming industry. Waste of money, yes. Have only hurt the gaming industry. Most of the people that buy these games buy only these games anyways. So, have they hurt the gaming industry? I don't think so. I think something that definitely hurt the video game industry way more is something like Fortnite. Like, the game is good, I enjoy the game myself, but the problem is that a lot of companies, Sony, try to copy that. by killing off, or I guess Microsoft too, by killing off, you know, every other first-party game that was developed and just canceling games left and right, just to try to get that one Fortnite. Making games like Concord that has allegedly costed them 400 million to develop and has died like after one day. But I guess that's just how it is. So I would say that something like that has definitely hurt the video game industry. But sports games by themselves, they were always present ever since the NES times. So I don't think that they have really hurt the gaming industry. So I think this is actually with the waste of money, I would put it on 50-50 too. Okay folks, some very interesting takes that you got here. Like I said, I think I will read the rest for a second part, because man, I'm already recording for what, 40-50 minutes? And I have to go to bed soon. It's getting kind of late here. Gotta wake up early the next morning. But I appreciate everyone who left a comment. That is very kind of you. And it is cool to read through them all. I'm very excited to read the rest of them. I won't look at them, I promise. I will react to them for the first time in the next video. But once again, thank you also very much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And I see you all in the next video. Have a good one, folks. Goodbye.